Hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Women Tech Makers SSA Spotlight webinar series. My name is Odunayo and I'm the SSA lead for Women Tech Makers at Google. For those of you that may not know, Women Tech Makers is a global initiative which provides visibility, community, and resources to enable women in technology to thrive. And the Women Tech Makers SSA Spotlight series was created to amplify the story and path women in technology across sub-Saharan Africa. We will connect women with economic opportunities in tech by demonstrating specific ways that women can jumpstart and develop in their tech careers. So today, the spotlight is on Odunayo Eweniyi, who's an amazing woman in tech. She's a gender equity activist and the COO and co-founder of PiggyVest Nigeria. So Odun, welcome.
Hi guys, hello.
Hi. Odun will be talking to us about finding your voice and how to carve your space as a woman founder, and also sharing her journey of building a successful career as a woman in tech. So Odun, thank you so much for being today, and I'd like to spotlight on you right now.
Okay. Shall I go ahead?
Awesome. So let's
okay.
Yes.
Hi everybody. My name is Odunayo Eweniyi. I'm co-founder and COO of PiggyVest, and I've been working in tech for about 7 years. I started our first company right out of university called Push CV, and Push CV I think it's still existing, but we're kind of trying to pivot in now. And after Push CV, we founded several more companies. Lots of them failed. And then we got the idea for PiggyVest. And through all of that, I think that the most significant thing is that I've had to navigate like this ecosystem as a woman. And in 2013, there were very few of us. So it's really essentially about like how do you navigate being in technology, right? When I came on in 2013, there was quite a bit of sexism in the ecosystem. And like I always like to point out, it wasn't the kind of sexism where people just say, I'm not going to do X because you're a woman, right? It was mostly microaggressions. It was mostly microaggressions, like being when they're inviting everybody who works in your space somewhere, they just exclude you. Or when everyone else is speaking, somehow you're not called upon, or just going to events and realizing that there's like only 3 women, maximum of 5. And people schedule meetings for after work at bars, and just generally like non-consideration for the fact that women technically navigate the world differently than men. It didn't help that I was also 19, and so there was like that component of you're too young to play with us, and you also happen to be a woman. And yeah, so it was a very interesting time. In the 7 years between then and now, I have to say that there is like a ton of improvements, right? There's more women in this space, there's more women doing great things, and that's why I like to say that representation matters. Because everyone can look forward and see the Temis of the world, Honey, everyone doing incredible things. Women are beginning to elbow and just like carve out their space, and I think that's an important thing. So I think there are some questions. I'll wait for Gita or Ada to ask. Hello, Gita, can you hear me? Okay, before we actually go into the questions, there was something I wanted to say about the inspiration to get a career in technology. I think that I wasn't particularly inspired to start a career in technology in that way. I think that the story is very simple and very basic as well, right? It was that I was coming back from an interview at a job, and the person had offered me like 20,000 naira to work 6 days a week, and the work 6 days a week, so Monday to Saturday, and then like the working time was like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it was going to be in Victoria Island, and I lived in Ogba, and I realized that that was impossible. So on the way back, my friend and now co-founder leaned out of a window somewhere in our estate and called me in and told me about the business that they were building and asked me to join. And I said, okay. And that's literally how I got into technology. And I like this story for one thing. I don't think that like women need like giant, big reasons to get careers in technology. I think that just wanting to do it or just being opportune to do it is good enough. You know, all these inspiration to start a career in X isn't common questions that people like pose to men because it's a male dominated space. They are just allowed to do. So I like that the fact that my story doesn't have any big audacious goal behind it, because that means that I'm allowed to just like fall into an opportunity much like my male counterparts. And women all around the world are allowed to not have a good reason. I just wanted to do it, you know. I wanted to do it. I was doing something and someone asked me to do it. I read it somewhere and I decided to do it. Those are good enough reasons to have a career in technology. And my story is like, yeah, someone called me and asked me to join a startup, and that's how I started. And I think that's good enough a reason, because there's no, it doesn't have to be that, something died or something expensive spoiled or I had to like save the world. I think that it's enough that I just wanted to do it. And, yeah.
No, I really love that. And I completely agree with everything you said about, you don't have to have a big aha moment.
Yeah.
Question. We wanted, I like you simplified your answers. Like, I just wanted to do it. I think a lot of women, feel that, like you said, it's a male dominated industry. So they think, okay, they're more geared, or they're supposed to be more geared towards doing other things. So when we see women like you that are just doing it, anyway, it's almost like you're an outlier because you've just gone and done what you feel like doing, regardless of what anybody else thinks. So it's almost, I guess the question is around, how did you, or maybe there's a different question entirely, how did you switch up your thinking to not limit yourself? And how can you, encourage other women not to feel that, oh, I have to do this because that's what girls do,
Right. I don't think that, I think that I owe that to the kind of upbringing I had, right? Because the way it was in my family is that my parents said, like, my dad always used to say, you can do anything at all. So switching up the thinking was super easy when I would go home. If I went and told my dad, I passed a bridge today and it was shaking, my dad's answer would be, so what are you going to do about it? So what are you going to do about it? And the mentality that no one else is coming to save you, you have to save yourself, is something that was drilled into me very early. And so when I came back from a job, I knew I wasn't going to take the job from the interview. So that means that there was something I had to do. And at the time, my thinking was, get a job, do it for a year during NYSC, go for my like master's degree, and like go teach, right? And so the goal for me was make a difference in people's lives. All right. So when my friend called me into the room and said, this is what we're doing, I figured like it was almost immediate, like there isn't one way to make a difference in people's lives. This might be worth a shot. Right. And so I think that the lesson here would be just being open to new like experiences and new paths, and just understanding that it's okay to take a path towards something, and sometimes it doesn't work. Right, as is evidenced by like the like 5 failed startups that I have. Sometimes it just absolutely doesn't work, and sometimes it does. And so, what if it does? Right. So just like be open to these things. And I would say that I understand how not easy it is for women to be open, because for some reason society doesn't give us like the space to make mistakes, to experiment in that way. And so I was lucky that I came from somewhere where my parents allowed me no judgment, express yourself. And I really wish that like women would take it, right? Sometimes you're not given, sometimes you have to take it and just like get these new experiences. You want to start a new business. And sometimes like this is from a place of privilege, but I also think that there is a space for you to just achieve that freedom where you're able to just like I'm going to try this. Like I might fail, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. And if you're able to, it's really freeing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So I guess my next question for you is specifically around the fact that you are a co-founder of one of the most
Yes.
amazing, and I say this because I love you guys so much, and I've worked with you guys, one of the most amazing tech, fintech startups out of Africa recently, and you are the only woman co-founder. How does it feel?
I don't give it much thought. I'm not going to lie. Like I always tell people that like when I go to work every day, I'm not going to work as a woman. I'm just going to work as Odunayo who has 1 million things to do today, right? But what I do feel every day is that representation matters. And this is why like there's no way that women say come speak here and I'll say no unless I'm already committed to another thing. Right. It's important to me that like people feel represented and that in the journey that I'm on, like one girl, two girls, out there can just see, oh, she's doing it, I can do it too. Or she did it this way, so maybe I can do it this way. And so running a startup as the only woman co-founder, I will say I've been very lucky because I run a startup with people who are my friends. It doesn't feel very different. Like sometimes it's like one of the guys. And so, and because they are, and I think that the mutual respect between you and the people you run a business is really key. Because when someone is sexist and I point it out to my co-founders, they fully let me just like take whatever decision I want to take in that moment, like whatever you feel is right. And so it's much easier for me that I think than other women out there because I'm a key decision maker and my co-founders are like usually they're okay to just let you do what you want to do, right? Express yourself in that way. And I think that so if you're going to start a company as a lady, and you absolutely must start it with a man. I don't know, maybe find another woman because but if you the man must be your co-founder, please find a man who like thinks of you as an equal, sees you as an equal contributor and has mutual respect. Like the mutual respect has to be there. And they need to also understand that you are navigating the world slightly differently than them, right? One of the things that a lot of men don't understand is that we're not saying that you're privileged, but someone is giving you like space because you're a man. We're saying that your being a man is not holding you back, right? It's not part of the reason you don't get what you need to get. So for the woman, it's slightly different. People see a woman and think her efficiency will be low because at some point she'll get married. People see a mom and think her children won't let her be efficient. And so if you're going to navigate the tech world as a woman, you need to find like a support system that absolutely gets it, right? That doesn't see your gender as a thing to hamper progress. So when I go to work every day, my team is like incredibly like, so it's just like, we need to get this done, we need to get this done. It's Odunayo speaking, is neither a woman nor a man. And that's how I think that everyone should think, even though they don't think that way, unfortunately. So yeah, find your respect, carve out your own space. And another thing is self-awareness, right? Running a company as a woman founder means that you have to do way more introspection than the men have to do, right? You know how that cliche is, you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. It's
Oh yeah.
true. It's not even false at
Yeah.
all. Like people that it's 100% true. And that means that as a leader, people are a bit more sensitive to things that you do, to the words that you say. And that means that like you need to do a lot more introspection before like letting thoughts out. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of things. And so that navigating the world means that you do a lot more thinking. And it improves you, I'll say, but slightly uncomfortable.
Yes. Wow. That is spot on. Completely spot on. Um, while you were speaking, something actually came into my mind. I mean, just going back to being the woman on the team. Being able to find that position where when you're speaking, it doesn't matter who is speaking. One of the leaders is speaking. How
Yeah.
do you? So I wanted to ask about the people that you work with, the people that work under you. How
Yeah.
are you able to connect with them, with the women on slightly personal level? How are you able to, or do you feel like extra like the need to go out of your way to pull the women forward, to bring them out, to enable them to to speak for themselves? Or, is that just the way your company functions in a way that everybody, feels equal?
So yes, when we started the company, I think I made it clear that we had to run absolutely an equal opportunity startup, right? And not the way people say equal opportunity and then somehow lean male, like equal opportunity, equal opportunity. So when we started, I decided that in the hiring process, in the beginning, we wouldn't know we wouldn't know gender when people are passing through the first stage. And what that helps us to do is we track answers and then we track culture fit and things like that. So I haven't had to go out of my way to pull the women forward because I think that once you work the intent for diversity, equity, and inclusion into your hiring process, into your company policy, into the culture, you don't need to now say, I am hiring female this. It
Uh-huh.
just happens. As of today, PiggyVest is about 60% female, right?
Right.
And we have like the VPs are female, the product people are female, and then we have like the men too. But like, there's women in leadership positions. There's women like in like who are like team leads, and
Mhm.
this is not because we decided I'm going to hire a woman. It's just because I hired the smartest person because the process is so open, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's like, if I had like a lot of men, I would specifically go out and hire female. This, I think there's a lot of merit to that. But when we started, I decided now that we're going to have an equal representation of male and female on this team. And so that we're now almost 40 and it was still 60% female. And agenda, but like women are just smarter, like in a lot of things. They take
Mhm.
instructions better in my experience. And so it's just like easier
I'm
for me.
nodding, but I'm gonna pretend I'm not agreeing with you. Yes.
No, this is for real. Like it's just like it's so much. So we have like a healthy mix, and because of like we're hiring the best people at every point in time. When you come in, we have zero tolerance for harassment, zero tolerance for disrespect, and all these things. So if like a woman says she feels disrespected, and I know that like it typically takes women a lot to come forward and say this person did this. So that's like something that we take every reporting seriously. And so I think it's the small things that helps you. Like I don't think that like organizations need to wait until they have to pull women forward. I think that they can
Yeah.
just start making small adjustments. What does your maternity leave policy looks like and look like? How do you have space for like women to like feel safe, right?
Mhm.
Can this is there someone they can speak to when something is going on? When they report, are they taken seriously? So those things, enabling environments really.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. And so I want to move away from that a little bit, and I want to ask you something personally
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people can relate to. Have you ever had to deal with imposter syndrome? Whether it's about being a woman or whether it's just about being a COO of a company, have you dealt with imposter syndrome, and how do you advise other women to, move past that?
I have dealt with it and I deal with it like almost every day.
Yes.
I'm an engineering graduate, right? I'm an engineering graduate who is now running a fintech company. Every day, I ask myself if I'm adequate, like enough to do this every day. And that's not even just as a woman. It's just like, wow, do I even really know what I'm doing? Right. And the answer typically will be, and I don't hide it from my co-founder. Sometimes I ask them, like, do you really think I'm doing a good job as the CEO of this company? And their response is like, of course you're doing a good job. Why would you think you're not doing a good job? But that thing is like is there every day. And then sometimes people themselves externally question it, like why don't you hire someone with more experience? And I'm not saying you're not doing it right, but that's exactly what you're saying, that I'm not doing it right. And I think that overcoming imposter syndrome is twofold for me. The first thing is I don't banish those thoughts at all. I don't tell the thoughts like go away. I don't want to have these thoughts. I think that it's really important to have those thoughts and then to use them, like to improve yourself. I don't think that thinking I think that thinking that you're perfect, you're really great at this thing all the time has its own downsides. So when the thought about am I good enough comes to me, what I do is take a step back and look at everything that I've done, all of my achievements, and see how can I be better. Can I be better, and what do I think about what has happened like in the past? So I don't particularly beat myself up with the thoughts. I allow them come. I internalize them. I look around me and see how I can prove them wrong. And in cases where I can't, then I strive to do better. So I don't necessarily think that imposter syndrome is all bad. I think that it can be very useful to women. Now, the other side of it is that on a disproportionate level, women tend to feel more inadequate than men. And that's where the problem really is. We need to find that balance. You're not doing like worse, any worse mostly than any of your male counterparts. And I think that it's important that like women are reinforced to know that. So while I would ask you, welcome the thoughts and use them to improve yourself, there needs to be a line that you draw on self-criticism. Right.
Mhm.
I would ask women to always, and be loud about your achievements. If you're
Yeah.
saying them out loud, the imposter syndrome will be targeted at the things that you're not really good at, specifically. Right. So you need to be loud. Like when you do stuff, or maybe you don't want to announce it online, but let your friends know, I did this. I did this. You did it because you did, and because society tends to overlook you, you constantly have to announce your presence, and that's not a bad thing. So find a balance. Imposter thoughts are not they're not all bad, right? A lot of times they come, take stock of what you've done, where you are, see how you can improve, and just keep moving. But also be kind to yourself, right? And like be your own biggest cheerleader. It's really important, right? People, everybody says ego, but no one seems to care when men are talking about the things they've done or probably didn't do. So like just like let people know what you've done, let people know how good you are at the things that you've done. That's fine. And in any way or form, doesn't have to be online, doesn't have to be on Twitter. It can be to your group of friends, it can be to your parents, it can be to like just a small group of people that like you have in your network. But I think that helps. Talking about what you've done helps to like keep those horrible thoughts away. But sometimes like you could use them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Auden. Those are really, really good tips. I think it's a good first step to tell your friends.
Yeah.
And I love female friendships where your friends are gonna go on social
Yeah.
media and shout about your achievements, even if you
Exactly.
don't want.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I want to go to the next question,
Okay.
and I want to ask you about some challenges that you have faced as a woman in tech, as a startup founder, and how you've overcome them.
Right. Well, there's quite a number, but one of the biggest ones was um, funding. Right, raising funds as a woman in tech is like it's not something that's easy. Like all those things I mentioned, for instance, when we started to raise funds for our first company, they would want to set meetings at times that I couldn't make because like it's dangerous for a woman out there in the night. And you would be like, why is the meeting at 9 p.m., for instance? Like I obviously can attend that. Or the usual, people deciding that when you enter a room with your male co-founders, you are their subordinates. You guys are not equal. And so I always had to like correct those impressions immediately because I didn't like people to hold like thoughts, but it did get tiring. And you know, I don't think it will ever stop. There's the microaggressions, and then there's the people not respecting personal space. And sometimes they get worse than the other. Like, the microaggressions you can deal with. Um the funding part you can deal with by just pushing back a little. The people not respecting your boundaries just because you happen to be a woman in a space that they think is male is much harder to deal with. And navigating those challenges is incredibly tough. But like they exist, they still do, probably on a much small. We've heard some things in the news of people just like taking advantage of like women in this space. So it's always happened. It's been there since. And like I said, some are incredibly more difficult than the others. And I'll say that now there's social media. There's a larger network of women to help you through all these things. And now, if you speak, there's people who will have your back. In the old days, people would be afraid of being blacklisted for speaking out.
Yeah.
So I think that The challenges now, they're still there. They've not changed, right? People are still sexist. People are still leaving women out of lineups and panels till today. People are still leaving women out of events or still relegating women to the women in tech panel. Still so many. But the difference now is there's more women. Like there's so many people at your back that you can look back and say, okay, I'm going to speak, and they won't let you be silenced. And I think that's the positive to take out of it.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Representation really matters.
It
And the
does.
right kind of representation, not just let's have a panel for women about women.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I think we're getting close to the wrap up time, but I have one final question. And so here it is. So at Women Tech Makers, we are focused on creating a world where all women can thrive in tech. And so today we've put the spotlight on you. So based on your experience and everything you've achieved so far, what do you think is needed to make this happen?
Right. Representation. And, it seems simple, but I heard this thing one time, like, and it stuck to me. Is like people just tend to hire people who look like them. Right. And whether we like it or not, that's like a natural reaction when you're feeling the spaces around you. And that fully explains why Silicon Valley is full of white men and our tech ecosystem is full of black men. Right. So if the VCs, the accelerator owners, right, the private equity companies don't have women at the top, it'll be hard for them to understand like women or even care about like your involvement in the tech space. We need more women there, right? We can actually speak and strategize all we want. If there are not enough women getting to those top positions, we will still have a hard time having women at these levels, right?
Yeah.
Like Women Tech Makers is connected, right? So if someone asks you recommend someone for a conference, you recommend a woman, right? And contribute and help to feel like the quota that should be women. If there were no women tech makers, they'll ask a man, and a man will recommend a man, and a man will recommend another man, and then you have a manor, and they will complain on Twitter, and then the dance starts again. And that's kind of how like it's always been. So if we have female VCs, right, like now we're getting more and like just slightly more. I mean not as much in Nigerian tech ecosystem. Honestly, I still couldn't name 5 female VCs, but we need more. Right. I know that we have Alethea Capital, that's run by Mr. Kumba. I literally can't name another one right now. Okay, I know there's women in Echo VC, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so
There's
like
Chrysalis,
exactly.
there's Ingressive.
Okay, so Ingressive's Maya, and like
Yeah.
if you look at Maya's lineup, you find like a lot more women than other
Yeah.
VCs, and that's exactly the point we're trying to make here. Is if we want diversity, if we want equity, if we want inclusion, women have to be in the room when they're making those decisions. We
Yeah.
can look at politics, we can look at tech, we can look at banking, we can look across all the sectors. If there are no women, like who's speaking for you when you're not in the room? Who's speaking for our agenda when like there are no women in the room? And so that's how I think about it. And I like to do the talking and all of that, but I do think that we need a future where rolling funds are started by women. The
Yeah.
general partners at these funds are started by women, and that way more women will come out of the woodwork. Because if women can't see women making headway in tech, they are not inspired to join. Like it's just like it will just be to them one more sector where people can make me feel bad about who I am, and that's just not acceptable.
That is so true. That is so true. Thank you so much, Audrey. That's been great. I don't know if you have any last comment you would like to make to people watching.
I mean, I think that I like that this is happening, and I like that I could do it from my room. But I think that for women, I think that it's like an ongoing journey, and I do go out every day with the consciousness that like whatever I do, unfortunately, it shouldn't because I'm just one person, but
Yeah.
has bearing on how people will see women's involvement in tech moving forward. And so because of that, and because there's still so few of us in this space, I would just like tell women to like do it, right? Like whatever the company is. And any company is a tech company these days. I don't know why they keep insisting tech startups and the others. Any company, if you open a Flutterwave e-commerce company and it takes off, you're in an e-commerce startup and that's a tech
Yeah.
company. And so like you can just go ahead and do it. I really would like to see a future with like more women who are taking charge and just like not caring what like people are saying. And I know it's difficult, but it's what is needed, right? Like, and I hope like ladies who watch this back, ladies who are watching right now, understand that the people who are doing it aren't special, right? They're just people, and they're just people who've like decided to take a chance, just like you. And society might say no, but that's what we're fighting for, the right for like you to be able to say, I'm going to start a company that makes juice machines and has absolutely no basis in reality. If a man can do it, you can. And you can raise like hundreds of billions of dollars, and so can you. Like honestly, we can, because I remember when we started PiggyVest and people were telling us you can't do it. No reason, you just can't. There's one person who went on Twitter and said, I'm betting against you, like put my handle on all. And you know, I'm happy. I'm happy that we're still here, that I can still reply that person on Twitter.
I wish you bet. You would have made so much money from that bet.
You know, there's people who they're that confident in the fact that like you're not good enough. And for those people and for the rest of us, you need to just go ahead and do it. So the people behind you aren't looking at the person betting against the woman and saying, he already bet against that woman, why should I try? That's not the mentality we need. We need more women doing the things and prioritizing themselves and their goals and their ambitions and their aspirations. You two can do it, really. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Odu. So that's all the time we have for today's Spotlight session. Thanks to everyone that joined. And big thanks to Odu for sharing your knowledge, sharing your journey with us today. If anybody would like to follow Odu and hear more about her story, we're going to put your Twitter handle up. So expect a couple more followers today. You can follow her.
You know, my tweets aren't great. I don't know. I said my tweets aren't that great, so I don't know about that.
No worries. So you can follow her at Odunayo Eweniyi on Twitter. And if you'd like to learn more about women tech makers, please check out our website, womentechmakers.com, or follow us on social media with the same names.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much, Odun. Go back, enjoy your day.
Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Take care.